Hello everyone, our names are Alicia, Ashleen, and Arifa, and today we'll be talking about downy mildew. Now, you might be wondering, what in the world is downy mildew? Well, chances are you've actually seen it at least once in your life and you just didn't know what it was. These are various examples of what downy mildew looks like. So first, let's give some background information on what downy mildew is. Downy mildew is a plant disease caused by various types of water molds, otherwise known as oomycetes. In contrast to powdery mildew that affects the plant surface, downy mildew is found on the underside of plants' leaves. Similar to its name, the disease appears with a fluffy texture and yellow color that would eventually turn the leaf brown. The leaf lesions appear in an angular manner as the pathogen spreads between veins. A mass amount of downy mildew will result in death for a large portion of those leaves, and in some cases, young shoots can also become affected, causing stunted growth. Now let's get on to talking about the developmental process of how downy mildew spreads. In very wet or humid conditions, the pathogens, otherwise known as oomycetes, produce spores on the underside of leaves, as shown in this image right here. These spores can also be dispersed to other plants from high winds or water. These spores land on the plant surface with free water present and begin to germinate. This leads to infection and the spores will enter through the stomata. The pathogen continues to grow inside the plant, causing yellow spots to appear, making the leaves look slightly distorted. The pathogen will continue to reproduce more spores on the underside of the leaves in these wet and humid conditions. This is done through asexual reproduction, and then the disease will spread to other plants as more is produced. This cycle can last from 7 to 10 days as a long process, or it can be short as 4 days depending on the climate. A fun fact, downy mildew was first detected in the United States in Florida in 2007 when it was found on basil, and here's an example of how that looked. An important thing to note is that pathogens are host-specific. For example, these flowers shown are called impatiens, which are affected by the pathogen Plasmamora abducens. So this was the developmental process of downy mildew. Now we will pass it off to Alicia, who will talk about the biosignificance of the downy mildew.
The biosignificance of downy mildew disease is the impact it can have on agriculture, the ecosystem, and plant biology itself. This specific disease can infect various vegetable crops that people eat on a day-to-day basis to keep a healthy diet. This includes lettuce, spinach, grapes, and so many other plants. Most of this damage to those agricultural crops will occur in cool, moist environments. This will cause a loss of yielded crops made from the farmers and result in less product being produced as a whole for consumers to buy. Additionally, this will have negative economic effects for the farmers as they might need to buy more fungicide treatments to help the plants, and less plants will be produced in the first place. Overall, less plants will be produced, which makes a higher price for the remaining plants, which could have a further impact on global food security. Now I'll be talking about the ecological impact of downy mildew. Species of downy mildew can be invasive and spread quickly to both cultivated and native plant species. This would not only ruin the current state of those plants themselves, but also affect the local biodiversity and ecosystem health as a whole. If the disease is not controlled, it can affect most crops set in a moist, humid environment. This reduces the number of species that are able to survive in that area. By affecting the number of primary producers, this would reduce the productivity of ecosystems and have possible negative cascading effects for higher trophic levels and disrupt the food webs and ecosystem dynamics as a whole. I'll now be passing it off to Arifa.
Now we learn how the process works at a mechanistic level. Step 1 is through initiation of infection through spore release from infected plants during moist conditions, followed by germination, which is then followed by hyphal growth, which produces hyphae that are long thread-like structures. The hyphae secretes enzymes that break down cell walls of the plant tissues, allowing the pathogen to penetrate deeper into the plant. Second is colonization of host tissue through invasion, nutrient absorption, and formation of oospheres. Invasion of hyphae growing between the cells rather than inside. Nutrient absorption, the pathogen extracts essential nutrients such as sugars and amino acids from the host cells. and formation of oospheres, which are thick wall spores that can endure harsh environmental conditions. Third is symptoms development, which is through chlorosis, Downy's growth, and leaf drop. In chlorosis, leaves turn yellow due to breakdown of chlorophyll. For downy growth, which is the appearance of downy white or gray growth on the underside of the leaves. Followed by leaf drop, in which the plant becomes increasingly stressed, leading to wilting and eventual leaf drop. Step 4 is dispersal of disease, which is through sporulation and infection cycle. Sporulation releases the spores into the air, which is carried through wind and water over long distances. And the infection cycle of infection, colonization, and sporulation continues, leading to widespread outbreaks if not managed properly. So, the management strategies are cultural practices, which disrupts the cycle of the pathogen through crop rotation. Chemical control, which can use fungicides that are effective if applied before the symptom appears. And monitoring, regularly inspecting the plants for early signs of downy mildew. So, downy mildew is a plant disease that can cause serious damage to the plants, but with proper management and control measures, it can be controlled. Thanks for learning. Any questions?